Hi everyone, this is Amsterdam Comic Geek, and this is going to be a short video about the comics I bought in July. And it's going to be short, like I said, because I only bought two floppies, two single issues, because I usually buy trade paperbacks, but the stuff I wanted to buy isn't out yet. So I went to the comic store downtown Amsterdam to buy the second issue of Red Room by Mr. Ed Piskor, because I believe you have to put your money where your mouth is, and if you believe something is important, you should support it. And I think that independent comics are important for our reading pleasure, but also for the market. And Ed is making a sort of outlaw comic. It's pretty violent, it's pretty in your face, and it's about anti-social network basically, in which people watch snuff movies, live streaming of snuff movies. So people getting tortured and killed basically on the dark web. So that's kind of a nasty subject, and I must admit, not all the violence is my taste. Not everything I see is something I really like to see, but I love the way he draws this stuff. I love his style, and because he has a bit of a cartoony style, it works for me. I really love this cover design, by the way, by Piskor, because his face is totally empty, and yet it isn't. Graphically, Piskor is a very strong artist, I think. Every single issue is a complete story, and in this issue we meet Poker Face, which is kind of interesting. It's one of the torturers, one of the big stars of the dark web, and we also, Ed also discloses how these networks get their torture victims. So that's interesting. What I also like is this gore gallery of fan art. I think it's pretty cool that Ed has a big following, and the people who follow his work make their own art, and that they publish this in the Red Room comic. The second comic I bought is Spawn's Universe #1. As you know, the Todd father is up to new interesting shenanigans, and he's starting a whole line of Spawn related comic books. So we got like Gunslinger Spawn and King Spawn and She Spawn, and of course Medieval Spawn. Now I've already read this issue, and I'm not going to review it that much, although there's one point that I want to address, is that when it says previously in Spawn, the only text we get is 318 issues have led to this, the founding of Spawn's universe, a universe of possibilities for Spawn and his allies, as well as his enemies. We hope you enjoy it. Well, let's say I'm a new reader, I've never heard of Spawn, and I want to check out this comic. McFarlane and the other makers don't give us a lot of leeway into the story. They don't explain a lot, I think. It's more like short stories that tease you to buy the other comics, which is fine. But when I'm a new reader, I want to know a little bit more about who is Spawn, where did he come from, and what is his angle, what does he want. So I think they could have given a little bit more information for novice readers, for people who have never read a Spawn comic but are curious about the character. But they compensate that by giving us some great art, and maybe you just have to read the other comics coming out later this year to get more answers. But I thought it was a bit too much of a tease and not too much substance yet. So I was a bit disappointed in this comic. Not a lot, just a little bit. One of the Spawns I'm looking forward to is Gunslinger Spawn. So when I went into the store at Hank's at downtown, I talked to one of the employees, Alfred, and I said, do you still have the McFarlane cover? And it was either sold out or they couldn't find it, because this one is printed with a couple of variant covers, as most comics are nowadays. So I picked out the J. Scott Campbell one with Gunslinger Spawn. Funny thing is, the regular price of these comics is about €6, but the Gunslinger Spawn apparently is very popular at the moment, so that was 12. I thought that was a bit too rich for my taste, but then Alfred said, oh, you can have it for 8, because they know me and I sometimes make videos about the stuff I buy there. So that was pretty cool. I want to thank Alfred for that. But I find it a bit, it's a bit odd. We live in a strange world in which the prices of variant covers go up. pretty fast nowadays. I love this cover though. It's great gunslinger Spawn, it's a great pose, it's a great illustration, but it's only a piece of paper and the rest of the comic is quite the same. So I thought, well, that's a bit ridiculous. But then again, if you really think a variant cover is the greatest you ever saw, you probably pay for it, you know. Anyway, so these are my 2 picks for the month of July. Maybe I'll buy a couple of other comics. I mean, the month isn't over yet. And I'm curious if you're looking forward to Spawn's universe or if you bummed out on Spawn. I mean, I think it's very interesting that McFarlane tries new stuff. And I've been following Spawn ever since the 1990s. And then I lost interest for a couple of years. And I picked it up a couple of years back. And I started rereading the whole series. And I think it's there's some interesting stuff there. And I like the fact that it's a creator-owned character. And he's been around for quite some time. So kudos for McFarlane and the other artists and writers who worked on the titles. And do you know Red Room? Have you read it? If so, did you like it? Anyway, thank you very much for watching. I'll catch you guys at the next one. Cheers.